While jogging in the park, a little girl came up to me and asked, "Why is that man taking your picture?" "What man?" I asked, slowing my pace to look at her. She pointed behind me toward the parking lot where a black Prius sat under the oak trees, the same spot I'd noticed it yesterday and the day before but never really thought about. The girl's grandmother pulled her closer and whispered something about not talking to strangers, but the kid kept going. "He has a big camera and he always takes pictures when you run past here, and then he follows you with his car." My stomach dropped because kids notice things adults miss. They don't have filters that explain away weird behavior as coincidence. Someone had been watching me, documenting my routine, and I had no idea why. I immediately ran towards my house, but I saw the black Prius follow me at a steady pace. Anthony, my neighbor, was already stretching by the entrance when I got back home with his usual smile and wave. But now I noticed things differently, like how he always suggested we take the same path, and how he knew exactly when I'd arrive even when I was late. "Hey, ready for another good run today?" he asked, but I was looking past him at the black Prius now parked across the street, barely visible through the trees, but definitely there with someone sitting inside. I tried to act normal and started stretching, while secretly pulling out my phone to text my sister, who was a paralegal and always paranoid about safety. The little girl's words kept echoing in my head about every single day, which meant this wasn't random or new, this was planned and deliberate. Anthony noticed my distraction and put his hand on my shoulder asking if everything was okay, and that touch, which usually felt friendly, now made me want to run in the opposite direction. I lied and said I felt sick, maybe we should skip today, but he insisted that running would make me feel better, that we should stick to our routine, that consistency was important. Red flags everywhere. We started running, and I kept glancing back to see the black Prius following at a distance, maintaining pace with us but staying far enough back to seem coincidental. At the 2-mile marker where we usually turned left toward the wooded trail, I suddenly went right instead, testing something, and Anthony grabbed my arm. "Wrong way, we always go left here." His grip was firm, insistent, and his friendly expression had shifted to something I'd never seen before, something that made every instinct scream danger. The Prius suddenly sped up and turned into the parking area ahead of us, cutting off the path I'd chosen, forcing us back toward our usual route. My sister had texted back saying she was calling the police and to get somewhere public immediately, but Anthony saw me looking at my phone and asked who I was texting. His voice had an edge now, the kind that made me realize I'd been running alone with this man in isolated areas for months, trusting him because he seemed nice, because he'd been through a divorce just like me. The wooden trail was coming up, the part where we'd be hidden from view for almost a mile, and I knew with absolute certainty that I could not go in there, so I stopped dead and turned to face him, my heart pounding harder than any run had ever caused. And that's when I saw it in his eyes, the recognition that I knew something was wrong. "Who's in the Prius, Anthony?" He didn't even deny it. He just stood there calculating his next move while the car's door opened and a man stepped out holding something I couldn't quite see. Anthony's expression went cold and he said very quietly, "Your ex-husband paid us good money to make this look like a random crime. He said you got everything in the divorce, the house, the investments, the life insurance policy. You don't even know he took out on you." Yes, they were about to end me. It turns out they'd been mapping my schedule, my routes, waiting for the perfect opportunity where no witnesses would be around, where it would look like a jogger got attacked on an isolated trail. A tragedy, but not unexpected, because women shouldn't run alone. Anthony suddenly reached for something in his pocket, and I did the only thing I could think of. I screamed as loud as I could and sprinted toward the playground where I knew mothers would be with their children, where the little girl might still be feeding ducks, where witnesses would make whatever they'd planned impossible. Anthony cursed and tried to follow, but the man from the Prius was shouting at him to get back to the car, that their cover was blown and they needed to leave. Police sirens were already approaching because my sister hadn't just called them. She'd used the location sharing we'd set up years ago and told them exactly where I was. They caught both men before they could leave the park, found the Glock in Anthony's pocket, the camera equipment in the Prius documenting 3 months of surveillance, and a burner phone with text from my ex discussing payment and timeline. That little girl saved my life.